What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream from the 10-7 MMA show. And today it's just me, Huzaifa. Wanted to jump in to do this video, which I've been wanting to do for a while, which is all about Colby Covington, a fighter that I think a lot of fans do like to see, whether they hate him or whether they love him. He's interesting in the pressers. Granted, he does his whole act and he brings a script and writes everything out. But for the most part, he tends to be pretty funny, I think, a lot of times. Now, what's been going on with Colby since he lost that last fight against Leon Edwards back in January? I think it was January, if I remember correctly. I think that a lot of fans have since turned on him. He obviously talked a big talk. He really got under his skin. He said he sent some low blows during the presser and then came out and what most people believed he underperformed. Now, when we look back on that performance, right? Why did he underperform? Was it because he had a foot injury or something else? A lot of people did posit right off the bat that the way he was fighting seemed to indicate some sort of injury. Now, after the fact, he has since come out that he suffered a broken foot, I think within the first 15 or 30 seconds of the fight. And that was the reason for what happened. So the question is, what's next for him now, right? He had that performance. It was really underwhelming. People were pretty upset. And a lot of people turned on him. And during the presser, he was even calling out Ian Garry. What we were very excited about as fans, as people got upset with him, as people maybe seemed to turn on him, was this potential fight against Ian Garry. Because when you get a situation like this, where you get somebody who is also disliked, right? Like Ian Garry is quite disliked right now in the public eye. There's a lot of people going against him. You have this chance for almost like these two characters that seem to not like each other and not be very well liked by the public to get in there and go at it. You know, it's somewhat reminiscent of when we had Conor McGregor go against Floyd Mayweather. And Floyd Mayweather is a very hated figure in boxing, really controversial and annoys a lot of people. Is very, flaunts his money, flaunts his wealth. And I think that rubs people the wrong way. So to see Conor, who's so skillful and artful on the mic, go after him, essentially bully him on the mic, people like it. Nobody likes a bully unless that bully is going after another bully. And this would have been that prime example for where we could see that taking place. And whoever would win this fight, I guarantee you, they would just skyrocket to being a fan favorite. It would have happened had this fight gone down. But today I'm going to talk about what is going on with Colby Covington and why I think this fight, sadly, is not happening. And Colby is refusing to take this fight. And it's just such a disappointment for fans like myself who realize that a matchup between Colby and Ian Garry, not only at the presser, but the fight itself would be absolutely unbelievable. And I want to talk about why I think this is happening. Before we get into it, I want to reference this amazing interview from Submission Radio. Love Submission Radio. I'm a big fan of the channel. I think they do incredible interviews. So we're going to kind of step through some of these little clips, and we're going to talk about this first part here where Colby discusses this injury. Now, is this injury real? Is it not, right? Colby has this whole shtick going, and it kind of gives him carte blanche to say whatever he wants. Just like, hey, it's a character, right? He doesn't say that. He'll always adamantly deny that it's a character. He's just turning it up to 11, as he always says, right? But obviously, it is a bit of an act. He clearly has a script. He is clearly running lines. A lot of times, he'll almost like stumble over his lines. I think he has a little bit of a hard time speaking in public, is what it appears to be. It's not me throwing shade. This is just my honest assessment of what I feel like is happening when he gets on camera and when he's at the pressers and so on and so forth. Like, my assumption is he's practicing a lot of this stuff. But anyways, he starts off this interview talking about what's going on with his foot. And so we're going to take it from here. I'm going to tell you why I think this is important in terms of what we can expect to see from Colby Covington. All right, here we go.
Yeah, so I'm just listening to the doctors. They think in the next, 4 to 6 weeks that, I should be 100% healed and have that strength back in that leg so I can plan off it and have no limitations. So, the types of things that we're doing is we're strengthening the calf, the ankle, a lot of calf raises. Of course, still doing things to the bone because the bone was both broken 3 different places. So, we wanted to do some stem cell in the bone, some shockwave therapy and compression therapy and all types of different therapies for the foot and the ankle and the calf. So, I'm just listening to the doctors. I trust their plan. And, I'm not going to come back at anything less than 100%.
Okay, so just to here, let's stop the screen share right now. I just want to talk about this for a second. Actually, it just occurred to me. I want to know this timeline because I'm saying the fight between Colby and Leon happened back in January. Let me just make sure I'm getting those times right. Sorry, not even January, in December. I mean, this whole timeline doesn't make sense. He's saying he's still going through therapy and he should be back in 4 to 6 weeks, and it's already been 6 months. Now, look, I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. I mean, I broke my hand and it took 6 weeks for it to heal. Obviously, there's other things going on, but he's saying that the doctors are still having him do stem cell therapy and shockwave therapy and all this stuff. I don't know. It seems, and I think a lot of people are calling BS on it anyways. Again, it's just within that line. Like he has carte blanche to say whatever he wants and essentially lie without any real consequences. Because again, it's the character, right? But the reason why he's saying this, whether or not it's true, is I think the anticipation of the original idea was for him to fight Ian Garry on the Conor McGregor card. And the reason why this is, I think Ian wants to be on that card. And I think it makes sense for him to be on that card. It would be if Ian Garry is the co-main event, it'd be the first time, as he says, in the history of the sport, where you'd have a Irish fighter headlining and co-maining. I mean, that would be huge. That'd be unbelievable. So I do think that's what is coming up, and that's what the UFC wants for Ian Garry. And Colby is coming out and telling people that he's got an injury that's not going to be healed for another 4 to 6 weeks. Obviously, that means he's not going to be ready to fight in International Fight Week. Now, do I think it's true? I now that I'm just looking back at the fight, remember, he wasn't even in January. It was in December. Pretty sure he's lying. And why is he lying? That's the other question, okay? Why is he trying to get out of this fight? Now, obviously, Colby is saying things. I'm actually going to go to another clip in terms of to listen to what Colby is saying as to why he's, again, purporting not to take this fight. So we're going to play a little clip of this, and then I'm going to give my thoughts in a second. All right, here we go.
Boy said to Ian, can you imagine? This kid's a spoiled little fucking entitled brat, and he's trying to act like he calls a shot as an absolute nobody who's never headlined a pay-per-view main event like myself. I've actually headlined pay-per-view main events without even a title on the line. So I've done it 4 titles without a title, this and that. I've only been fighting pay-per-view main events the last 6-7 years of my career. So this little spoiled entitled brat is coming out saying that he's calling the shots. First off, there was never a contract. If there was a contract, show me the contract, kid. Where's the contract? If you're saying these words, you come out and show it to the fan. There never was a contract. So the thing is when the UFC calls Colby Covington Incorporated, Colby, is able to choose and do what he wants because I've earned my way in this company and I've done good business for this company.
Okay, we're gonna stop it right there. It's just it's a little hard for me to listen to because it's like he's talking about a broken foot and different things, and then he's saying, he's not showing any evidence of that, and that's fine. You don't have to. But then now he's saying, hey, what's up, Western Mass Climber? Now he's instead saying he wants Ian Garry to show proof of the contract, this and that. I don't know. It just doesn't seem it seems disingenuous. But the question is why? Why is he so adamant? Why is he essentially, in my opinion, why is he saying all of this to seemingly avoid a fight with Ian Garry when it seemed like he was fully game to do it before? He was bringing him up at the presser. He was talking smack about him. It seemed like he was angling for that fight. Now, if we want to think about, he later on calls out Bilal Muhammad and even Charles Oliveira later on in this interview. Bilal is next in line to fight Leon, and he's always seemed to have not wanted the Bilal fight, almost like pretending as if he didn't know who Bilal was, that whole shtick that he does. Now he's calling out for him. So the first question is, does he even want to fight Bilal? Is that a real thing? And why would you want to fight him over Ian Garry? Yeah, he's higher in the rankings. He's saying it'll get him closer to a title shot. But there is nobody at this point that would get a bigger buzz than Ian Garry for Colby Covington, especially if he wants a resurgence in his career. The second thing is, Colby wants to fight Conor more than anybody. He's always complimentary and laudatory towards Conor. This is the one surefire way, not surefire, but the best way he's got to getting into a ring with Conor. And he wants that. He can get up there. He can be on stage with Conor and Ian. They're both going to go at him. He can go back at both of them. He can throw all the low blows he wants. And then if he goes out and wins the fight against Ian Garry, it's right there. It's right there for him to take on Conor. If Conor wins and he gets a title shot, that's different. But let's say he loses, or let's say he wants the Colby fight after the presser. This is Colby's shot to make a massive payday. It's the ultimate play. You think he's going to have these opportunities or options if he fights Bilal, or even as much of a legend as Charles is? He's not going to have those same opportunities. This is the fight. So the question is, if he could be on the biggest pay-per-view potentially of all time with him and Ian Garry, plus you got Conor Michael Chandler at what could be one of Conor's last fights, this could be the biggest pay-per-view of all time. Why is he avoiding this? Why is he saying all this stuff now? My only conclusion, because there's so much at stake here, is that I think that Colby and his team have done the calculation and have looked at the matchup. And, I'm not going to use the word scared, but I think that they have found it highly, highly improbable that Colby can get the victory here for whatever reason. Again, I'm not an MMA strategist. I can see that Garry would have a lot of advantages, but you never know, right? You can develop a game plan. He can leverage the fact that he's got the wrestling background and the advantage most likely in the grappling. But again, there's the age gap. Ian Garry is hungry. He's training in Brazil. He's working on his jiu-jitsu skills. He's a really well-rounded fighter. He's a very, very, very dangerous fighter. And although I would say from the outside looking in, it does seem like Ian Garry would be favored to win this matchup, but maybe it's so lopsided and I'm not aware. Colby's team is in the calculation. It's got to be that, because why else would you now start calling out Bilal? Like, it just makes no sense. Why are you calling out Bilal when you seem to have wanted to avoid him for so long? And also, it might be that he's simply calling Bilal out because Bilal's supposed to be fighting Leon next, probably in Manchester at some point over the summer. So it's almost like he's calling out a fight that is not even doable. So I'm not really sure what Colby's next play is, but it appears to be, for some reason, that, whether it's he's made the calculation or whatnot, he seems to really not want to fight Ian Garry. And I just wanted to make this video and talk about it because I just feel like it's such a disappointment for the fans. And I understand he's got to look out for his career. And if he really is that heavily favored to lose against Ian Garry based on their internal calculations and based on the style matchup, I mean, I guess I get it. It's just really sad, especially when you're going to talk that much smack about somebody. You're going to give them the stipulations. You're going to go through this whole thing, kind of getting the fans to think that you're going to actually take this fight, and to not, it's like a bit of a disappointment. And I know my co-host Justin went hard on Colby. I'm not going to go as hard. I'm not even a fighter. What leg do I have to stand on in that respect to even call you out for avoiding this fight? I get it. You have to look out for your career, but I just want to say, I do think it's a shame for the fans, because this would be possibly the greatest press conference of all time, and it would be an amazing matchup. And maybe you'll lose. I don't know. You could win. If you win, man, you'll off to the moon, and you could have that Conor fight, and you could be one of the biggest stars in the history of the UFC. I really do think so. I hope that's enough for him to roll the dice. Colby, if you hear this, I hope it's enough for you to roll the dice. I'd love to see you in there, and I'd love to see this matchup. That's all I got for you. If you guys agree, leave a comment, leave a like. Thank you guys so much for joining again. We do our shows every Monday and Friday at 1:30 p.m. PST. That's it. Straight from the live. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.